Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So as you can see from the title, it is the man standing behind the pulpit, right? And the inspiration for this specific word that I have for you guys today comes from Matthew chapter 23, from verse 1 to 12, and then I'll also be reading from verse 16 to verse 21. So let me just get down to that. So it reads from verse 1. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must obey them and do everything they tell you. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy loads and put them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them." Verse 5. Everything they do is done for men to see. They make their phylacteries wide and the tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets and, most important, seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted in the marketplaces and to have men call them rabbi. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have only one master, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one Father, and he is in heaven. Nor are you to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, the Christ. The greatest among you will be your servant, for whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. And now Jesus speaks about something very important here, and something that I also wanted to highlight. And the first thing you can see is that he's referring to these leaders in the church, these Sadducees and Pharisees at the time, who were kind of had this duality about them, where they worried more about how they presented themselves, which is now, of course, as holy individuals, and cared less about the most important things, which were why they were sent or why they were in those positions. For example, the people, and then, of course, God and his will. And it chuffed them up to sit in specific seats that were elevated above the rest, to just generally be elevated above other people and other individuals. So God is referring to these sorts of individuals. And what I've noticed in the churches that I've been to, oftentimes, it's not all churches obviously, but oftentimes you find this scenario where one man or woman is being praised or glorified as knowing the gospel while others do not. And this goes against what Jesus, of course, taught, because he wanted every person, every individual that follows him, and every person who believes in him, and everyone who has that relationship with God, to be a disciple and to be his disciple. And so therefore, every student must become the teacher, or rather every student or every immature Christian needs to become a disciple, right? And needs to be doing the things that a disciple does and know things that a disciple does. And so Jesus makes a point by calling these leaders in the church at the time hypocrites, because they do not do what they say. But he also references the fact that there is only one master, and that master is him, is the Christ, is Jesus Christ. And so let's just go to verse 16 and 16 to 21. So it reads, "Woe to you, blind guides! You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing. But if anyone swears by the gold of the temple, he is bound by his oath." 17. "You blind fools, which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? You also say, if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing. But if anyone swears by the gift on it, he is bound by his oath. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and by everything on it. And he who swears by the temple swears by it, and by the one who dwells in it. So, in this piece of scripture, Jesus is basically posing the questions. Well, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but he asks nonetheless. He says, you guys speak about the gift and the gold and the temple. Which one is greater? Is it the gift? Is it the gold? Or is it the temple, the thing that makes it holy? And similarly, I think you can compare this to men, right? Who makes men holy? Jesus Christ, of course. And so, which of those is greater? Is it that man or is it Jesus Christ? And for me, of course, the answer is obvious. It's Jesus Christ that's greater. So you may think that Jesus is more glorified in your heart than either that man or that woman that is behind the pulpit, or an individual that you know in your life that you look up to regarding these things. But what we need to know is that God knows our hearts, and God knows when we've made idols of men. And so I feel like we need to just double check that and make sure that we have not. And we need to remember that Jesus came to give us freedom and authority in his name, and to abolish the practice of needing a person on earth to be an intermediary, because he is the intermediary. And this is why he came to earth, right? He died on the cross so that we have a direct line to God, so that we are able to communicate with God, so that we are able to have a relationship with God. This is why Jesus was here. This is why he died. And so he stands in the gap for us. So we do not need any man for that purpose. And so we do not need to rely on any individual for that purpose. Yes, there are people that help us. There are people that can disciple us. But like I said earlier, the student must become the teacher. For lack of a better term, the person in church needs to become a disciple and therefore disciple other individuals. So as Christians, we cannot be stagnant. We cannot just be individuals that do not try and spread the gospel and assist others to become disciples themselves as well. Yeah, man, guys, I just wanted you to check yourselves and make sure that Jesus Christ is above any person that you feel is up there spiritually, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your friend, whether it be the man standing at the pulpit, the woman standing at the pulpit, whether it be family, that you do not put that individual above Jesus Christ in your heart, because they aren't. But do not do that inside of your heart, because then we make idols of these individuals and we follow them, but then we aren't really following Christ. And so I just wanted to encourage you and remind you to remind yourselves to place Jesus above those individuals, those people, any man, any woman that we respect in the faith. Anyway, guys, I hope this blessed you. I hope that it encouraged you, and I hope that you guys have a great week further, and God bless.